Hey guys, yeah, it's about 7:09 a.m. I've got to get myself ready for work in just a little bit. I have to be at work today at 11:30, but I do have to catch the 9:15 bus to get down there. But before I do that, I have some time on my hands, so I decided, why not talk about something that everybody's been talking about in the wrestling business as far as it pertains to WWE and mostly to NXT. As a matter of fact, and that is what Bruce Pritchard said. Bruce Pritchard said on his podcast. Now, what he said caught a lot of people by surprise, whether or not they believe him or not, or whether or not they feel maybe he's telling the truth, but they know people won't believe him because there's just too much evidence in front of their faces to prove otherwise. And what that was is that Bruce Pritchard went on to his podcast recently, basically the day of NXT, that would be yesterday, the day of the second to last NXT before Worlds Collide, and basically the second to last NXT before the second to last NXT UK, before it folds up and goes away, and in its place we get NXT Europe. So anyway, Bruce Pritchard said something yesterday that not a lot, like I said, it's kind of divided a lot of folks. I mean, when JD from NY206 talked about it last night on his review, which he was actually very positive about this edition of NXT, because he can kind of see that Triple H is slowly coming back to NXT a little bit with his influence, because you see certain things happening that you wouldn't expect, even though there's a few things that he still feels has that main roster Bruce Pritchard feel, but these are the kind of things that he could tolerate. Even JD, when he read this off before he got into his review, was laughing about it. He was laughing so hard and just like, I swear, I could almost swear that he was gonna basically take out the microphone he had. I'm not saying break the microphone, but basically cause the speaker in it, the mic itself, to burst to where he would just be very silent, or you'd just hear nothing but an echo. But he was getting a kick out of it because he's one of a few people that doesn't believe what Pritchard is saying. He doesn't believe Pritchard is telling the truth, because he believes Bruce Pritchard is the one that ran NXT. He's the one that made all of these things that happen on NXT 2.0 become a reality. Even though Shawn Michaels came out and said, look, Bruce had nothing to do with it. I did. But, what did Bruce say, though? What did Bruce say that got people's attention? Well, I have it here. I have it printed out. And this is from ringsidenews.com. Now, Ringside News, sometimes like No DQ, it's one of those sources that, they'll take a news story from, let's say, Fightful.com or CageSideSeats.com or PW Insider, Wrestling Inc. or wherever, Madman Podcast. They'll take the news item from there and put it onto their websites, and maybe add a few details themselves, basically like give their own opinions and stuff on the situation. Well, here, this is what they said in their article. This is what they put up on their article, and let's see if there's anybody I could credit here. See if there's anybody I could credit. It doesn't look like there is. But here's what they said in their article, and I quote, Bruce Pritchard is one of the... Okay, let me rewind that. Okay. Let me restart. It says, and I quote, Bruce Pritchard is one of Vince McMahon's most trusted executives. They highlighted most trusted executives in WWE. The former Brother Love is also a decisive figure for a lot of reasons as well. Okay, let me rerun. Let me give me some coffee here, guys. I do apologize. It's early. That's better. Okay, let me rewrite read that. And I quote, Bruce Prichards is one of Vince McMahon's most trusted executives. They highlighted in red most trusted executives in WWE. The former Brother Love is also a diversive figure for a lot of reasons as well. He also shut down reports of him writing NXT. Continuing on. NXT 2.0 made its debut in September last year, and it promised an entirely new outlook on the product. Basically, and just like with the word most trusted executives, they highlighted promised an entirely new outlook on the product. So let me reread that. It says NXT made its debut in September last year, and it promised an entirely new outlook on the product. While it did bring about quite a few changes, not all of them were met with positive reception. Continuing on, let me get some more of my Mick Cafe coffee. Okay, alright, continuing on. This is what Bruce Prichards had to say. This is what he said from his podcast. I can't come out and say things when things are reported incorrectly or just out and out falsehood and out lies. And sometimes it really irritates me and sometimes it doesn't. I'm not in a position where I can really comment on some of those. But it's for those that choose to be negative and want to believe the negative. Then you're a negative person and that's what you're going to do. So have at it. I'm not going to try and change anything else. So right there, he's basically kind of like, before he even says it, he's calling out the fact that he, is one of the people in the business, in WWE, in wrestling in general, that doesn't like when pretty much, there is truth out there because of reliable wrestling source with connections to those within the companies. He doesn't like it when, information that let me got tongue-tied there. I do apologize. Like I said, it's early. But basically, what it sounds like is he's just somebody who doesn't like the fact that when a reliable source, like I say, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com, PW Insider, Mike Johnson, and those, like them, have connections to those in the WWE, in AEW, in Impact, PWG, MLW, New Japan. He doesn't like it when those people will have those connections, get information, leaked out to them or pretty much reported to them on certain things that could be happening or might be considered happening and stuff like that. He doesn't like it because, the public is not supposed to know. So when the public comes out online and calls someone like him out about this or that, it irritates, obviously it makes him upset, and it makes him having to come out like this and basically say, hey, I don't know what those people are telling you, but all that's lies. I don't know what this person's saying to you or why you're believing this person, but it's all falsehood, and it's irritating. He basically has to come out and say these people like Sean Ross Sapp and Mike Johnson and anybody that will believe what they're saying and, carry it, as a badge of pride and pass it along like a rumor at school. He says that irritates him a lot because, now he has to because to him, honestly, now he has to come out and say it's false when pretty much it could be true. That's kind of what I'm getting here. He's basically, in his own way, saying, look, I don't like it when people spread lies or, say things that are incorrect, report things that are incorrect. To me, being a fan, a longtime fan, that kind of tells me what he's saying is, hey, I don't like it when information that shouldn't be coming out just yet is coming out. Basically he doesn't like it that somebody's in the company leaking out this information or giving information on what possibly could be. But, be that as it may, that's just how he is. Continuing on, he says, and I quote, but I do have to say, because it's something that people, even internally, would come to me with and make comments about, that I was writing NXT. I never wrote one NXT show in the history of my existence. I am a fan of NXT. I love NXT. Now, here's where JD from NY206 was busting his gut, if you will, hearing this. JD basically feels that what Bruce Prichards is doing is being a comedian. A comedian that's trying to save his ass. Because pretty much a lot of people could see what was happening on NXT was very Bruce Pritchard, Vince McMahon, Kevin Dunn influenced and inspired. And that even though Shawn Michaels was there, you know, kind of like, I guess assigned to be the be-all, end-all, like, okay, we'll make the decisions, but we want you to be the one that says, I'm the one calling the shots, even though you're not. You know, everybody will look at what happened with NXT 2.0 and be like, yeah, you know, Bruce, you and Vince and Kevin Dunn could tell us otherwise, but we see the truth. We see it. And here's the thing, too. A lot of reports back in September, August, September, and all that, and even into October, pretty much counter what Bruce is saying here. Because there's a lot of reliable sources in WWE that commented to reliable sources like a Sean Ross Sapp, like a Mike Johnson, you know, a Bill Apter, and all of them, and said basically, look, this is what's happening in NXT as we speak. This is who's going to be, you know, running the ship and everything now. This is who's going to be running the ship. This is who's going to be calling the shots. Yeah, Shawn Michaels is going to be there, but Vince, Bruce, and Kevin are the ones that are calling the shots. They're overseeing the product, and whatever they don't like, they're going to say so, and we won't see what they don't like. You know, end of discussion. And another thing that, you know, JD brought up when he basically called Bruce Pritchard out here in his own way after having a big old laugh out of this, basically this, you know, unanimously humongous joke, as he puts it, as he would look at it. JD basically said, well, if you loved NXT, if you cared about NXT, why would you have Braun Breaker, Rex Steiner, not once, but on multiple occasions, break the original NXT sign? Why would you do that? Why would you have him on not once, but on multiple occasions, break the original NXT black and gold logo? Why would you do it? Why would you make a War Games match of 2.0 versus black and gold? You know, if you weren't against the black and gold, if you weren't against NXT, if you weren't against Triple H's vision. That's basically what JD was calling him out about. He was pointing out all these examples, and others would join in agreeing with him, believe it or not, on those examples that were visually seen. And that we all saw it. I saw Braun Breaker break the NXT original logo on multiple occasions. Just Alex did. You know, Solomonster did. Everybody did. And, you know, for Bruce Pritchard and JD's mind and anybody's mind to come out and say, oh, I loved NXT, that right there with Braun Breaker doing what he did is a prime example of he didn't. I mean, we've heard reports that Dunn and Pritchard never really liked Triple H, you know, at all. Or never liked the fact that Triple H's NXT was making the Monday Night Raw and the Friday Night SmackDown look, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, inferior. Make it look inferior to NXT. You know, they didn't like the fact that NXT was now being looked at as the A show, while SmackDown was looked at as the B show, and Raw was looked at as the C show. Or vice versa. NXT as the A show, Raw as the B, SmackDown the C. They didn't like that. They didn't like the fact that Triple H was making his product look superior. You know, look like, you know, the be-all, end-all. Like, his brand was the bar you had to reach and maybe try to surpass. They didn't like it. Bruce didn't like it. Dunn didn't like it. Heck, Vince didn't like it. You know, so when obviously, you know, Triple H got sick and everything and had to step down a little bit, or was removed from his position of power, you know, a little before or around the same time, you know, this is why a lot of people feel ill, you know, Bruce Pritchard and Kevin Dunn and Vince did what they did. You know, and that Bruce can deny and lie all he wants on his podcast, but, you know, them coming in and taking over NXT because, oh, you know, it couldn't get the job done on Wednesday nights, or it couldn't even get the job done on Tuesday nights, right? And they feel like Triple H failed in his position of power, and now it's their turn to step in and take over and show how it's done. A lot of people read or hear what Bruce says here, and they're like, seriously, Bruce, who the blank are you kidding? Who the F are you kidding? You're not kidding anybody. You're not fooling anybody. We see the truth. We see it. But here's what's interesting to a lot of folks. Bruce Prichards is being kept on. He's being kept on as an executive in the company, but a lot of people look at the fact that the reason Hunter, Paul, if you will, is keeping him on as an executive in the company is to show him, look, I may have not done well on Wednesday nights because AEW came in and kicked our butts and everything, but guess what? Here's what I can do, when I don't have to be told to compete or told to try to put this new company that people are going to get behind out of business right away. Here's what I can do. And basically, it's, a lot of people feel it's sticking into the crawl of Bruce Prichards. It's sticking into the crawl of Kevin Dunn because they know they're still close with Vince. And thus it's sticking into Vince's crawl as well because look what's happening. Everybody's tuning into Raw more so than ever, in such a long time. Heck, I did a Raw review because I watched Raw for the first time fully for 3 hours. Everybody is, positive about Raw. Everybody's positive about SmackDown. Even the investors, in the company are, more positive about everything going on. And it's sticking, and everybody believes that the reason Triple H is keeping someone like Bruce around and even Dunn around is to basically shove it in the face because he knows it sticks in the crawl, that he's proving, even after going through everything that he did, that he still has that Midas touch he did in NXT, Black and Gold, and he's showing people how it's done when you have a wrestler that's with the times, knows what the fans want, understands how all these men and women feel because they've been there. He's basically showing how things can be done when you have someone that knows all that, working behind the scenes and getting it done and getting the right team together to make them understand that vision. Which, believe it or not, I think Bruce Prichards is a part of as well. And it's basically, and obviously a lot of people feel it's eating Bruce alive, that he has to now go by what Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Paul Levesque wants, and it eats him alive. That's how a lot of people view it. And when they hear Bruce Prichards say this kind of stuff, but they see what he's done, or what was done oppositely over the past, what has it been, almost the past year, people find that hard to believe. They find what he's saying hard to believe at all. So, the question to you guys, though, is Bruce Prichards telling the truth? Did he never write for NXT? Or is he just saying that because he knows, people already, know the truth? Is he trying to cover his tracks? Does he have proof of this? Do anybody believe him? Does anybody believe him? Let me know down in the comments and in the live chat during the premiere. But again, he said this stuff. He said he's sick and tired of people coming out and making, irrational falsehood statements and reporting stuff that's not true. But a lot of what we've seen that, they try to shoot down has come true. So, again, is Bruce Pritchard someone to believe, in saying that he had nothing to do with NXT, 2.0? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check me out at all my outlets like BW Rose's Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations, except for Pandora. As well as check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses. Also check me out at Venmo at Brian-Warmer-2 and at Cash App at BW Roses98 to support me there. Also check me out at VENMO at BW Roses for content you can't get anywhere else. And at my Teespring store as well. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Do you think Bruce is telling the truth, or do you think he's trying to cover his own rear end? Let me know down below and in the comment section, and I am out.